back to Rating the List, where we review, discuss, and reimagine popular movie lists objectively. We're your hosts. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad, and in this episode we'll be exploring number 47 from AFI's 100 Years, 100 Passions, the 100 Greatest Love Stories of All Time.
All right, and number 47 is A Splendor in the Grass, released in 1961, directed by Elia Kazan, starring Natalie Wood and Warren Beatty.
The synopsis for this romantic drama is as follows. In 1928 Kansas, horny teenagers Deanie Loomis, played by Natalie Wood, and Bud Stamper, played by Warren Beatty, long for a more intimate relationship, but heed the advice of their elders not to become more involved for the sake of her reputation and his future. Bud's sister Ginny returns from Chicago more worldly after an annulment and rumors of an abortion. At a New Year's Eve party, Bud rescues Ginny from an attempted rape. The disturbing incident leads him to tell Deanie they should stop fooling around, and they break up. Bud has a liaison with Juanita, and Deanie agrees to go to a school dance with Toots Tuttle. She sees Bud at the dance and tries to entice him to have sex with her, but he rebuffs the attempt. She runs back to Toots, who drives them to a private spot to have sex. Deanie realizes she can't go through with it, at which point she is almost raped. Heartbroken by Bud and driven to the breaking point by Toots' assault, she attempts suicide but is rescued before drowning. Her parents sell their oil stocks to pay for her institutionalization just ahead of the 1929 market crash. During her stay, she forms a bond with fellow patient Johnny. Bud is sent to Yale, where he meets Angelina at her family's restaurant. Bud's father travels to New Haven to convince the dean not to expel Bud due to his poor grades, but Bud only wants to own a ranch. His father takes Bud to New York for the weekend. The stock market crash has just occurred, and his father jumps from a building after losing everything, and Bud must identify the body. 2.5 years after going to the asylum, Deanie returns home. Bud's mother has gone to live with relatives, and his sister has died in a car crash. Deanie's mother claims not to know where Bud is. She gets Deanie's friends to say the same in order to prevent Deanie any more anguish. Her father refuses to coddle her and says that Bud has taken up ranching at the old family farm. She visits Bud and learns he's married to Angelina with a son and another child on the way. She lets him know she's going to marry Johnny, who is now a doctor in Cincinnati. They both still love each other, but they know they must accept what direction life has taken them.
This is a really sad story.
It really is. I think the biggest theme in this movie is kind of how chance can play a big part in the things that happen in your life. Like, you know, it's like his parents end up having financial ruin over this thing. And, you know, at the time, his parents are very, very rich when they're dating. And her parents are, you know, lower middle class. Yeah. They're not poor, but they're lower. Yeah. They're lower middle class. And, you know, part of the reason that, you know, his family doesn't really want him to date her is because they feel like someone of a lower status will hold him back.
Right.
And ultimately what ends up happening is, you know, her mental breakdown causes her parents to sell their oil stock, which ultimately leads them to not having financial catastrophe because they actually profit from the stocks that they have because they sell them, you know, probably
before it happens.
About 6 months or so before the market crashes. So they got out, like, you know, fortuitously at the right time, you know, for them. So they end up being okay. Whereas, you know, Bud's family, his dad loses everything, and like happened a lot on that, you know, on and around that day, as there was a lot of suicides.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, it's kind of like just kind of an analysis of young love, right, and how intense it is, and you know, and the realization that, you know, teenagers are horny. Like, that's just how it is.
The one thing I appreciated about this movie is they didn't make that one-sided. Like,
she wanted to too.
They both wanted each other, and you know, they held back for various reasons. They were being told by both of their parents for different reasons,
right?
Not to, and you know, she's still just, you know, and to his credit, he's trying to be the good guy
Mm-hmm.
because he sees what's happened to his sister's reputation when she comes back. You know, she was like a flapper in Chicago, and you know, she got annulled, and you know, there's this stigma of having an abortion around her neck, and she's really like, she's a really, really unhappy person. She's really, really drunk.
She hates her parents.
She hates her parents, and you know, she's
just miserable.
She's really, really drunk, and a guy tries to take advantage of her, and you know, Bud comes to her aid. You know, again, to his credit, and gets beat up for it. But I think he sees in that moment what could potentially happen to Deanie.
Yeah, and he doesn't want that to happen.
If he has sex, and he loves her too much for that to happen.
Yeah.
So he makes a really difficult decision. And then, you know, in the middle of that, you know, he's still a horny teenager, and, you know...
Juanita was always, like, the easy girl, so he figured...
Well, it's not just that. She's constantly been throwing herself at him, so he just doesn't have the defenses to put up anymore, and he doesn't have...
And it just breaks Deanie's heart.
Right.
Breaks her heart.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. And to me, it's like, I think, and to true to life, I think that people our age, or the age of being parents, forget about how intense that first love can be, and how much it means. It's their whole world.
Yeah.
Hold on. It's their whole world. So and her parents don't understand it. They don't understand why she's so upset, you know?
Right. They just kind of, they really just don't treat her with the kind of respect that they should treat her.
Yeah.
It's like they don't recognize that she's an actualized person with real feelings.
Yeah.
And neither of them takes the time to try to like be
help
in her
her.
shoes and help her, and you know, and so she feels isolated at home. She's lost Bud. She, you know,
her friends don't really get it.
Her friends don't really get it. She just feels completely alone, and she just has a mental collapse.
Yeah, she does, because, and I think that it didn't need to go there.
Right.
Like, she was having normal teenage reactions to things. She was upset about her boyfriend who slept with another girl. She thought it was going to be her. Yeah. Like, she was having total normal reactions. She was depressed, of course.
Yeah.
But then it was like her parents were just like, move on. It's okay. It's fine.
It's no
you know, like, oh, you know, and it's just, nobody could understand where she was coming from. So she just went over the edge, and she had to be institutionalized.
Yeah.
And it was very, very sad.
And then we have another one of these circumstances while she's there.
Yeah. She
meets a really nice guy.
Yep.
And she bonds with him, and ultimately, you know,
they get married.
They're going to get married. And at the same time, you know, Bud gets sent to Yale, and he meets someone that he legitimately connects with.
Yes.
And falls in love with.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the other interesting thing about that is, you know, had his family not lost all their money, she's coming from an even poorer family than Deanie. She, you know, Angelina is, you know, she's the daughter of Italian immigrants. They have a little family restaurant, but they're not by any chance well off. So,
well, and I think that if they still had his money, he wouldn't have been a farmer either.
No. Again, you know, this is what he ultimately wanted.
He wanted to be a farmer.
But, you know, at the expense of losing his father and his family kind of being broken apart. His mom is now living with relatives. His sister has died, probably the result of a drunk driving accident based on the life that she was leading. So, just you know, there's a lot of circumstance that, you know, a lot of it is sad. Some of it is, you know, bittersweet. The thing I like the most about it is they both kind of recognize that they're always going to love each other.
Yeah.
But
it's like it's over.
Yeah, and neither of them is putting the other one in any kind of difficult spot about it.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't like show up and like try to win him away from, you know.
No, and I think that her mom was like, "Don't tell
Yeah.
them where he
Right.
is or what." She was so afraid that it would
Right.
push her over the edge again. But it's like she's been in therapy for 2 years.
She's
Like
also, you know,
she can handle it.
it's not just that. It's 2.5 years later. She's a grown-up now. She's grown up a lot.
A lot. She's been on her
The
own.
difference between 17 and nearly 20 is vast.
Yeah, and she's kind of learned how to take care of herself
Right.
in this place, you know.
And the all the things that were around at that time, it's a different circumstance. She's showing up to, you know, 2.5 years later to Bud being married is not the same as, you know, the two of them breaking up because he, you know, he doesn't, you know,
yeah,
want to, you know, deflower her or whatever and ruin her
he
reputation.
moved on.
Only to have him, you know, turn around like right away and go with the easy girl. That's a completely different situation.
She still cares about him. She wanted to see how he was doing. Is
Yeah.
why she wanted to go see him.
Right.
And he was so glad because he wanted to know how she was doing.
Right. These
You
people
know?
genuinely had a genuine love for each
Yes, for
other.
sure.
And they probably always will.
Yep. Yep.
And it was closure for both of them. You know, she saw that he was living the kind of life that they talked about, that he wanted to live.
She was very happy for him.
And he now knows that she's marrying a doctor and she's going to have a good life. So, and she's better. You know, he's probably, you know.
He felt to blame for
Right.
her situation for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of loss
Yeah.
in that whole thing. It was a very sad story, but
Yeah.
it was very good. It was very well done.
Yeah, I gave this one a 64. Jerry gave it a 62. The list score is 63.
All right. If you have anything to add about this story, please let us know in the comments. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We'd love that. If you'd like to talk to us directly, please email us at ratingthelist@gmail.com. But for now, we're Rating the List. I'm Jerry.
And I'm Brad.
We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.